Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today I have with me Margo Chevers.
Hi.
Thank
you for having me here.
Thanks for doing this. Margo is a friend of a friend, and one of the other episodes I did was Dennis McCurdy, and Dennis is a good friend of Margo, so we're going to talk about that. Margo's done a lot of things. I just found out she's done a lot of things in her life, and she's had some interesting stuff. So we're gonna talk about that, shall we?
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's ride some shotgun here. All right. So you started a family. Let's start off. Hit the early years. Margo Chevers, the early years. You started off and had a family when you were young.
Yes. Yeah, I was 20 years old when I had my first child, a daughter, and went on and had a second child, a son. And so I was a mother of two children by 22 years old.
Wow.
By today's standards,
that's young.
That's a child.
It is. I look at my parents. My parents were 21 when they had my older sister, and 23 when they had me. And I look at myself, I'm like, there's no way I was responsible enough to have a kid at that age.
Well, that doesn't mean I was responsible enough. That just means I had the children.
I'm willing to admit I was irresponsible enough.
But back then, that's what you did.
This is true. This is what people did. Started a family young.
A young girl, she had maybe three options: get married and have children, and that was expected of her because you take on your husband's identity. So that was expected. Or you could be a teacher or a nurse. That was it.
Those are your choices.
But you went to college to get your MRS degree, and that was reality back then.
Gotcha.
I mean, I went to school with girls that were engaged before they graduated.
High school?
Before they graduated high school. Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
So I wasn't unusual. My life was unusual, but there were things that were the norm that I was doing.
Right.
But I didn't think I'd ever even get married because I didn't even date in high school. I was the shyest person you'd ever want to meet. When I tell people that now, they go, nah, nah. But I was so shy. I couldn't talk to people.
I've become a Toastmaster over the last couple of years, and after I got divorced, I told everybody that I became a yes man, because if somebody said, do you want to do this? My answer was yes. Yes, I do. Yeah. So when I was going, having been in Toastmasters for the last couple of years and trying to break out of my own shell, I would tell people I'm in Toastmasters, I'm divorced, I'm saying no to nothing, and I said I want to break out of my shell, and everyone would look at me and they're like, you have a shell? I'm like, I do. Don't we all have some sort of a shell?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But mine was very thick.
Yeah.
And so when I met a young man that paid attention to me, I didn't pay attention to his background or any of his faults. And just to list them, because this is part of my story, he was just out of jail when I met him. He was already an alcoholic. He was into drugs, and I did not see any red flags because I had not been trained to see red flags. I lived in a Pollyanna family that you grow up, you get married, the husband takes care of the wife takes care of the kids and the family, and we all take on our responsibilities. And guess what? When you're married to an alcoholic and a drug addict who breaks the law all the time, he does not take care of you. He's out taking care of himself,
Right.
getting drugs or drinking, or so it was quite an awakening for me that there was something else out there that didn't fit the mold that I was brought up to believe in.
Gotcha. I've noticed this having been married and then try to go out and get involved with women, have relationships, whatever. I've noticed that the red flags I didn't see. I saw the red flags before, but I didn't realize they were red flags.
Yeah.
And now I try to pay a little more attention to those. I try to pay attention to them now.
Yeah, but emotions, hormones get in our way, and we'd rather listen to that rather than logic, because logic doesn't come into love. But now that I am a little bit older than that, I think, no, you got to make sure that there's logic in there too.
Right. Wow, that's wild. So you had a family young. You obviously didn't stay in a relationship with this, with the father of their kids?
No. I stayed married to him for about 5 years, but he was very abusive. That was another red flag that I ignored. But it didn't happen until after the marriage. But still, that's not unusual either, that they wait until after the marriage.
Sure, they reel you in.
And then I was holding my daughter one night. He came home, he was drunk, and he hit me while I was holding my daughter.
Wow.
And I left for him. You know, I was still that naive young girl. I left for my daughter because I realized my kids could get hurt. And mother's instinct was stronger than anything else. So I left to take care of my kids.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Now that's something we could talk about eventually too. How you're doing stuff now for the I can't remember the title.
Tri-Town Domestic Violence Task Force.
That's a mouthful that I can't remember.
Yes, it's a mouthful for me too. I get tongue-tied every once in a while on that one. Yeah, I coordinate that.
Oh, cool.
I'm the coordinator. And that's a lot of fun. We can talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. So, divorced, raising 2 kids on your own, and you ended up having to, obviously, to work so you could support the kids.
Yeah. Well, before I came to that realization, my sister fixed me up with a blind date. I'm one of the few people that have ever married a blind date. I married somebody, again, not looking at any red flags or anything, and he was a philanderer. I mean, this guy, if he cheated on me on my honeymoon, it wouldn't have surprised me. Only he was with me the whole time. So I know he didn't.
Right.
He owned his own business. He was in construction. He was the most dishonest person I have ever met in my life. And that's one thing I pride myself on, is my honesty and my integrity. Mm-hmm. And when you start getting phone calls from customers that say, where is he? He's left us half done, and we're staring at the outside. We don't, he hasn't enclosed us. And that, along with his cheating, I finally said, no, I can do it on my own. Because I finally came to the realization, and I still remember, we lived in this beautiful 10-room Victorian house. We had a carriage house out back that we rented out to 2 different families. I had new cars, new clothes, all the stuff I hadn't had with my first husband or when I was growing up. And people were envying me. I had in town, everybody knew who I was. We lived in that big house. And I was so miserable, and I remember sitting on the back steps of this gorgeous house that I absolutely was in love with, and thinking, why am I so miserable and everybody else is so happy?
Interesting.
And because we all think everybody's living a wonderful, perfect life except us, and we don't see anybody else's misery. We only see our own. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I'm going to blame it on my parents, because if my mother hadn't been so tough on me, if my father had been more engaged with me, I wouldn't have been so shy, so I would have made a better choice first time around. And then I said, well, I can't really blame them. And I started blaming everybody else in my family. And then I went to my first husband and said, if he'd been a better person. And then I went to my second husband. And then through it all, I'm going, wait a minute. There's only one person who's been in all these relationships, and that was me.
There's one common denominator here.
And I'm the one that chose all of this, and that means I could choose something different. And that's what I did that day.
That's great.
That's it.
That's the day.
Exactly how it happened. And that was the beginning of a new Margo.
Very cool.
Scary. It was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. Because to realize that you are totally responsible for your own life and that you can choose. Now, I know that things happen to us that we don't have choice over, but we have a choice with what we do about it.
Right, we can choose how we handle it.
That's right. And I was not handling life at all. And so I said 1 month from today, I will be out of here. And I did. I moved out 1 month.